The joke in design, right, is you can have fast, good quality, and cheap. Choose 2 out of 3.
I hang around somewhere, a few places in India, and I figured that it's too crowded for a Finn. In Nepal, we realized that actually we didn't have enough money to sort of fly back. Figured that, okay, maybe this Annapurna is more interesting than Mount Everest. And I've always been interested of not the highest, but the second highest. So usually they are more isolated places, and usually they are more challenging. We really didn't take time to get high up. So instead of the prescribed week or 2, we did like 2 or 3 days. Okay, I've gotten a few scratches, and on one climb, I fell like 20 meters on a slab. Got lots of scratches and lots of skin.
You sound like you've been a Dirtbag climber all this time. But you've actually been a startup founder, and then you became a VC.
It's a bit flat to my taste.
Hey guys, it's Davey. Welcome back to the Outdoor Journal podcast. This conversation takes place in Helsinki at the SLUSH Startup Tech event, and it meets at the intersection between entrepreneurship and mountaineering. It was a local event for AP, and he sat down with his old climbing buddy, Juho Risku. In addition to his lifelong passion for ice climbing and mountaineering, Juho has been a serial entrepreneur since 1996. In 2012, he co-founded Butterfly Ventures. It's a Nordic deep tech early stage venture capital firm. He often supports science-based projects that come straight from the university level and that also have a positive impact on the environment, such as energy saving. In this episode, Juho talks about his ice climbing and mountaineering background, including his sketchiest moments battling summit fever and AMS. He also talks about recent trends in climbing since he became the president of the Climbing Federation of Finland. And he recalls his helicopter evac in Nepal and those hard moments when he has had to decide between turning back or pushing on. If you're listening only right now, you can watch the video on Spotify and our YouTube channel. And if you'd like to go on your own Finnish adventure, go to the Outdoor Voyage right now and check out our 10-day package that includes an overnight train to Finnish Lapland, an ATV safari, and guided viewing of the Northern Lights, plus much more. And please take a second to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss our weekly content. And also, please give us a review. All right, without further ado, let's go to Helsinki.
Welcome to this edition of the Outdoor Journal podcast. I'm actually at this big event called SLUSH, which, as the name implies, is because it's in Helsinki in November when it snows and becomes slush. So this is the tongue-in-cheek event. They love to talk about the fact that you have to be badass to come to Helsinki in November. But we're climbers, right? So we're all badasses here anyways. And I'm here with the only climbing VC that I know of, who's a friend, Juho Risku. Juho runs a VC fund called Butterfly. So we let Juho talk. Juho, welcome to the show. This is the Outdoor Journal podcast where we talk more about outdoors than VCs and tech. But we're at SLUSH, so we're going to talk about your VC world contact as well as your climbing background, right? Welcome.
Sure. So thanks for having me. Maybe the two parts of my identity. The other one relates to kind of being an entrepreneur. Another one relates to being kind of a mountaineer.
So let's talk about climbing, because we're not talking about going to the gym climbing, which is what 90% of, or maybe 99% of the tech world might think of when we talk about climbing. It's not really the proliferation of indoor climbing. You're a real climber. I mean, you go to the big ranges of the world. You go to the mountains. You go do stuff outdoors. You told me so let's hear a little bit about your climbing background. How did you get into climbing and the kind of climbing that you do? It's real stuff. It's not indoor gym stuff, right?
I'm blushing here a little bit, but yeah, I guess it's true. I mean, I don't really think it that kind of extraordinary, but maybe it's because I started from the ice climbing. So originally when I got to the climbing, it was kind of a little bit after the 2000. Maybe 2002 or somewhere there, and we had a few kind of competitions going on in Oulu in ice climbing. Of course, it's different than the ice climbing in real mountains, kind of, and particularly in Oulu, which is kind of pretty much the flattest place on Earth. But nevertheless, it sounded kind of interesting. And then my dad has a cottage close to a venue, Koroma Canyon, that has actually a pretty nice ice falls. Not kind of a super long, up to 70 meters or so, the longest ones. But still a kind of a real ice climbing venue, and somehow that had attracted me. And I kind of figured that okay, I want to start ice climbing. I kind of figured that okay, how do I how do I get there? I had to go to a kind of a climbing course first, like this indoor climbing course first, to learn the belay. But the very next thing was that I got to a kind of ice climbing course, and started
Okay,
going there.
So this is totally Finnish and badass, right? This is like emblematic of being Finnish because you started ice climbing. Not most people will be like ice climbing is the thing that they'll never do as climbers, right? But here you go, you started by ice climbing, and also we're talking about Oulu. So let's give a little bit of context to our listeners here, right? So Oulu is in Finland. It's actually halfway. So I'll let you talk, right? So let's talk about the Finnish context because Finland is basically, sisu and badasses. Like, that's just the culture of Finland. So the fact that you start with ice climbing is pretty much that. So let's hear a little bit about where this is located because many of our listeners may not actually realize.
Okay, so Oulu is like 650 kilometers north from Helsinki. About halfway to Finland. I mean, Finland is a very tall country. Not many people actually realize how tall it is. And it's maybe let's say 150 kilometers south from the kind of a polar circle. Because of the cold current, we have a kind of a decent summer, but yeah, we do have a kind of a longish winter as well. And Finland is relatively flat. Oulu particularly is very flat. I mean, even the topographic maps are made on double density so that they would have any curves there. But for some reason, Oulu has had always a kind of decent climbing, or at least I've been there, a decent climbing scene, and it's been particularly active on the kind of ice climbing side. And they had the kind of a gear rental and everything, so it kind of lowered the barrier of entry into the sport. And then we have I mean, it's not like super close, but like 5-7 hours. Lyngen Alps are there. You can go ski mountaineering. There's lots of like hundreds of or even thousands ice falls there. That's what people do quite often. So I mean, people like there aren't that many ice climbers in Finland, a few hundred, but and when I started, like even less, and even less of those who climb multi-pitch ice.
Right, we're not talking about a lot of people here. Already, the population of Finland is what, like 6 million or something, right?
I think more like 5.
Yeah, 5 million, right? So there are more saunas than there are people. But okay, so Oulu, the winter starts like at which month?
It used to start like early November, late sort of
and
October, but these days maybe like these times like late November.
Right, with climate change. And when do we have spring here?
Well, if I look from the ice climbing point of view, like we usually go first time somewhere kind of early November in Stora Sjöfallet. And, there are places where you can still, I mean, in Koroma, you can typically climb 1st of May still.
So we're talking nearly like 6-7 months that you have to actually go ice climbing. And again, let's locate Oulu. It's like the armpit of Finland and Sweden, right? It's in that little thing there. And then, so Norway is not far away, which is what you're talking about. You're talking about the Lyngen Alps and Norway. So most people think about the Alps and they think about France and Switzerland. But in reality, in the Nordics, here we have the Alps. The northern Alps,
and there are substantial faces like Jehkevari is like 1,600-1,700 meters of snow.
Wow.
Then you can ski all the way down to the sea level. Kebnekaise is the place where I've done most of my ski mountaineering, and it's good in a way that even springtime like Easter, you have fairly predictable conditions, and you always. At least I haven't bumped up there any time. I've been there almost every year, like week or two around the Easter, and I haven't had a kind of trouble finding real powder snow.
Yeah, so let's talk about temperatures here. So what is the minimum temperature we're talking when it comes to your skimo and ice climbing conditions?
Particularly with wind chill, it gets can get really, really cold. I think I remember once around the Christmas time, it was like something like minus 25, 28. But it was a kind of storm level winds as well, and never else I remembered I had to ski with the full down gear on, and it still was cold.
So minus 28 Celsius plus storm condition winds.
Yeah, snow
Wow,
and everything. That was quite harsh
that's cold.
conditions.
That's cold.
And you had to kind of navigate like zero visibility. You had to navigate I mean, it wasn't kind of that long, like just like maybe 13 kilometers to the hut, but you still had to kind of navigate basically zero visibility on your sort of compass slash GPS only. And so it was definitely a
That's an adventure.
more exciting experience, I'd say.
Yeah, and then so this is Finnish Lapland here, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's a network of huts that you can access when you do these ski trails or these winter trails.
Yeah. That's actually quite unique feature in Finland that we have these huts that are openly available for the people that kind of go there. You know, usually within a kind of a day's distance, you have one or two that you can go to, and there's kind of a dry wood, typically a gas stove, and place to sleep in warm and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of the amazing things about Finland is that the outdoors is so supported that you have this network of free huts and what are those things called? Like these open tent-like shelters?
Lean-to shelters. Okay,
Exactly.
there are
Yeah.
those as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a very cool little network. And then, of course, it's, as you said, there's free wood that's dried. There's an axe to chop your wood. There's a stove. And it's all available for free to any outdoors person who comes in and such. So if you're going on a long hiking trail or a ski
Yeah,
trail,
yeah.
right?
As long as you're kind of keep them in good condition, you are expected to clean and you're expected kind of behave nicely. Some of them even have saunas. Typically, you need to pay a little bit for using the sauna, like I don't know, €5, €10. But some of them also have a kind of sauna, so that's quite nice.
So the hut is free, but the sauna costs a little bit of money.
Probably because they are made for a larger group, and it takes quite a bit of wood to get that kind of heated up. So they kind of figured that compensate a little bit so that not everybody burns everything.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Makes sense. All right. So let's talk about the climbing mountains part of it. I remember we talked about the fact that you went to India and Nepal when you were younger, right? That's when you saw the big mountains. You want to talk a little bit about that story?
Sure. Yeah, so it was already like in the 90s, and maybe that was one of the kickers why I mean, I've always liked high places already before that. But somewhere around perhaps would it be a kind of 94, 96 or something? After the kind of a hard work of a summer job at the oil refinery, had enough money, and we decided with my friend to go with the backpacking. So we had a one-way ticket to Delhi. Hang around somewhere, a few places in India, and figured that it's too crowded for a Finn, too crowded, too hectic, too kind of everything for a Finn, and escaped to Nepal. And in Nepal, we realized that actually we don't have enough money. We have lots of money, kind of stay there and have time, but we didn't have enough money to sort of fly back. And it took quite a while and few trials to sort of sort the money situation, to get some money sent in from Finland. Okay, now we are here. Why won't we go to the kind of a mountains? And figured that okay, maybe this Annapurna is more interesting than Mount Everest. And I mean, I've always been interested of not the highest, but the second highest peak. That's for some reason for me a lot more kind of interesting. Usually they are more isolated places, and usually they are more challenging climbs. Okay, we were not planning to climb Annapurna. Annapurna is notoriously difficult mountain. But we kind of thought, okay, we can go and hike around and perhaps kind of visit the base camp and so forth. And so we bought some hiking boots and cheap jackets and sleeping bags, and went to a hike. And we were so dumb that we really didn't take time to get high up. So instead of the prescribed week or two, we did like 2 or 3 days hike from Pokhara to the sort of not the base camp, but one camp below, where we kind of stayed a few nights. Then from there went to kind of a base camp and started kind of going above the base camp, and it was kind of a bit crazy. Particularly my friend got really I don't know if it's called even mountain craziness, but he wanted to go higher and higher, and we saw some. I saw some clouds coming, and it started to feel that okay, maybe we should start kind of getting. But it was a really a not easy task to get my friend down because he wanted to go higher.
Summit fever. Yeah.
Yeah, summit fever. So sort of we were quite far from the summit, to be honest. But both of us could feel these altitude symptoms, and we were quite lucky to kind of turn early enough because it did go into the clouds quite quickly.
Yeah, exactly. For a Finn to see the big mountains and then it's symptomatic to say, hey, we got up really high and didn't realize the sickness that we're going to get mountain sickness, right? High altitude AMS. So this seems to be a recurring theme in your life. You've also had AMS issues in other mountains, right?
And again, because of being too eager, too fast, and too kind of, honestly speaking, stupid. So we were trying to be the first Finns in the top of the Mount Logan. Mount Logan is the largest mountain on circumference on Earth. Mammoth had this kind of a competition where you had to submit a kind of a plan to go somewhere. And I figured that okay, Mount Logan that has the highest kind of one of the highest differences within the base and the top that you can do skis with. And figured that, okay, that sounds interesting. To my surprise, we won a spot. So off to Logan we went.
So Mammoth paid for this?
Mammoth paid kind of some part of it. They kind of paid the guides and some gear, but we paid kind of rest of our kind of travel and most of our gear as a result. But yeah, we got the base camp, camp 1, camp 2, and everything went kind of really smoothly. Okay, my friend had a huge hangover for the kind of from the base camp to camp 1. He had night before he had really kind of wasted.
We do this whiskey hour. What was the drinking? Was he drinking something local?
I have no. I mean, I'm pretty sure he drank everything, everything available. There's a picture of he having this kind of wrestle, a friendly wrestle though, with one of the locals, and we found a sauna next to the Kluane Lake, and that sort of stuff.
So Finnish.
We were waiting for the kind of weather window. It's a little bit problematic in terms of weather. You can't always fly in and out, and because they are kind of particularly from the Canadian side, the airport is on the other side, and the base camp where you kind of land then is on the other side. So you have to have a good weather on the both sides to be able to fly in or out. Suddenly, we heard that okay, now it's the flight time, and we were flown in.
How technical or not technical? Can you tell us a little bit about the climb itself?
I guess people would consider it somewhat technical. Basic route to the Camp 2 is actually quite straightforward. You just ski. From the Camp 2 there is a little bit of crevasses and kind of a navigating. It's not always passable. In our case, it was passable also above Camp 2. And, even though I felt a little bit kind of dizzy, originally we had kind of a plan that we stayed there a couple of nights to sort of adjust for a good reason. But we didn't follow that reason, and we started moving our stuff up to the Camp 3. I think I got some kind of a lung infection, which kind of exacerbated the problem.
Oh, wow.
Next day, high fever, very, very low blood oxygen levels. And then there was kind of a storm coming in, and we did the decision to sort of evacuate with the helicopter. And that was pretty heavy because it was, of course, not the plan to get evacuated. I'm a little bit this kind of a sentimental guy even, so I cried a little. And
it's a disappointing thing to happen, right?
In a way, yeah. But at the same time, I think it was like, okay, probably we could have managed it without, but that's always difficult in the mountains. That okay, where do you draw the line really? When do you kind of back off? When do you kind of push forward?
Yeah, you've got to manage your risks, right? When it comes to the big mountains.
In a way, at least I like to think that I'm being more on sort of a careful side. I mean, I've taken a few falls on ice climbs, and people say that that's not careful, but.
All right, so let's talk about your worst accident or life or death situation, and the most memorable climb you've had.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a kind of a accident that would have been really kind of a life and death issue. I've taken a few falls, or at least, I've never broken bones, or, okay, I've gotten a few scratches, and, on one climb, I fell like 20 meters on a slab, got lots of scratches and lost lots of skin.
It was a long
It was
run
run out.
outside.
I mean, we were climbing in Arco, one of the bigger walls, and there was kind of seemed that rain coming in, so I sped up a little bit too much, went off route, and lost the route, and then suddenly I figured that okay, there's nowhere to kind of put the protection, and somehow I kind of slipped my finger, kind of opened and got bloody, and slipped, and the people belaying didn't realize that actually I fell. They were just thinking that okay, now he's going fast.
Because it was
I were going quite fast before,
right. And you couldn't feel, and the rope was just like slipping through the belay, so you
they were kind of
they were just like
okay,
letting him go. Yeah. Take some more. Take some more.
He's going.
And how hard was the route? Was it a difficult slab?
No, not that difficult really. I mean, something like grade 5 or
okay.
or so.
Okay.
Not too difficult.
Just a slip. Yeah.
So just a slip.
And you've been climbing with your son, because you also told me about Arco, whereas you took your son for the first time, and he's been climbing since he was a kid.
Yeah, I've been taking him climbing since age of 6 perhaps, and in Arco I think he belayed me first like maybe 10, 11, and we've been climbing ever since. That's actually the kind of a most memorable climb for me. I had tried Eiger a few times before, not very successfully, but
Nordwand?
Not the Nord one. But Mitteligi has always been kind of what I wanted, and I wanted to go from the kind of all the way from the village by myself, and not to take the train to the glacier.
So from Grindelwald, hike up all the way, get to the start of Mittelegi.
Well, actually, not all the way from Grindelwald, but it's Alpiglen or something like that, and then walk there for the Östekhatte, and the Östekhatte to sort of the ridge to the Mittelegi, and then all the way through the kind of a top, and the other side, southwest ridge, I guess, is the kind of exit ridge there. I've been kind of dreaming of the North one as well a little bit, but thought that maybe a few climbs on the top makes sense before. Yeah. Sort of knowing the mountain. It's a bit peculiar because the rock quality is not super good, and
it's crappy limestone type of rock.
That one, with my son, we had a kind of excellent time. We did it kind of really super fast.
Oh wow!
We're super efficient, and everything kind of like weather was great. I think my son was like 16 or 17 at the time, and.
Very nice. Yeah, father and son climb on the Eiger, right?
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. For example, this Monte Rosa circuit is quite nice. You go up at the Zermatt, ski down to the Monte Rosa hut, up to the sort of Italian side. And there's many 4,000 peaks that you can do on kind of this 2-week trip. But in Cavani, there's a super nice circuit that has a kind of 3 layers of ice climbs. And in some conditions, there's like, I don't know, maybe 800 meters tall, very steep.
Pyrenees is very wild. That's the exciting part about the Pyrenees. Surprisingly, that in that area there is some climbing, and it's all quite wild.
That particular long one, I'd like to kind of climb sometimes, but it's rarely in condition.
Right.
And then one of the things that I really like to do, we've done a couple of tries, backed off. There's a climb called Finkonna in Norway, Senja, grade 6 or 6+ climb.
You've been a part of the Climbing Federation in Finland as well, right? What's the scene like? What's been happening in Finland with climbing and outdoors?
Last few years, I've been the president of the Climbing Federation of Finland. Now my tenure will be ending at the end of the year. People in climbing in general, the sport has grown quite a bit.
Finland is actually famous in the circuit for Nalle and for Burden of Dreams for bouldering.
Bouldering, yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense if you consider how kind of a flat Finland is.
That's right. Yes, exactly. I mean, surprisingly there are 1-pitch, 2-pitch climbs even in southern Finland. I look at the little app and I'm like, oh wow, there's a pitch here, there's 2 pitches there. But it's more bouldering. That's true. Yeah.
Olhava mountain is not really a mountain, but there you can do like this.
Yeah, the quality of rock is very good.
Quality of rock is very good, and that's a beautiful place. It's a bit flat to my taste, but
Mine too, a little bit actually. So, what's your expectation? Are we going to see more Finnish climbers coming up, younger climbers who are sort of coming on the scene?
there are a few quite strong ones. It's of course hard. I mean, we are not that well financed like big federations, in the big kind of a country. So it's of course hard to kind of make it as a profession, which I'd hope people could do more. But there are quite a few strong ones, and we are of course trying to kind of put the federation into shape that we could kind of support more also this kind of younger climbers and more sort of a competitive climbers. Even though personally I'm more on the sort of adventure climber, and it's more about the kind of a trip itself than how hard the grades are, or
Fair enough. It's the old school way. I mean, I get it.
yeah.
But Finland doesn't really. We don't really hear about Finnish outdoor brands the same way we do about Swiss outdoor brands or even Swedish and Norwegian.
Norway
Yeah.
is quite big.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's Suunto and a few clothing brands here, but I guess we've been more geared to the cross-country skiing, that sort of stuff.
Let's talk about a little bit about tech and your life as a VC, because we've spent the entire time climbing. We are here at SLUSH, which is the biggest tech conference in the Nordics or in Europe now. I think it's.
I don't think there's another event in the world that gathers as many investors, LPs and startups together.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about your own life story as a startup founder who became a VC, because, we talked about climbing and you sound like you've been a dirtbag climber all this time, but you've actually been a startup founder and then you became a VC. So let's go through your life as a startup founder.
I started my first company around 96. It was around those times that I did this Annapurna hike as well, coincidentally. It was a digital design agency, but we started doing quite sort of a challenging websites, kind of modern user experience already those times. I think we did the first windowing system and the kind of a system that loaded data in the background without changing page already somewhere 97, 98 when Netscape 2 came out. Got a little bit VC money on that, blew that up. We had a small operation in Silicon Valley, did lots of mistakes, and some embarrassing stuff as well, like a live programming demo in New York on front of several thousand people and cameras that went, really busted. Around, was it 2006 or 7, somewhere there, investors started kind of thinking of getting the company sold. My US head of sales came from the meeting of Bank of America, and we're kind of they compared us to the Oracle, and
oh wow,
we are better, and that lasted like 2 weeks, and lots of competition coming in, and we went fast enough, good enough. Everything.
Or didn't market enough, as often happens with Finnish companies.
That might also be the case, but I think we did genuine mistakes as well. But nevertheless, I sold my shares, went back to university, did my master thesis on thinking of if I could kind of finish this process engineering, but it was quite clear that the chemistry and some of the hard subjects, were way too far behind to sort of remember the differential equations and all that stuff. So
sorry, this was oil refinery type engineering.
Yeah, process engineering.
Right. Yeah, we've never heard of this. So yeah, it's like one of those things where you only know if you know.
Graduated a few years after. Did my thesis on founder-entrepreneur relationships. Read a couple hundred scientific articles about the topic, and it's one more company in between before founding Butterfly Ventures. It started as an accelerator project.
So you founded Butterfly Ventures, right?
That's the fourth company I've involved as a founder. Yeah.
And what does Butterfly Ventures invest in?
Deep tech seed startups in the Nordics and Baltics. We've been thinking of covering some other parts of the sort of Northern Europe with the next fund, but it's still like year and a half away.
So give us an example of some of the portfolio companies that your fund has that are cool that you want to promote.
No, I could start with the flow computing. Flow computing is one of the I like a lot. It's a spin-off from National Library of Finland, VTT. Kind of maybe 20 years of research behind, ton of patents, and we started to kind of deal with the founders like year and a half before they spun it off. And it's a IP block to a CPU that can increase the parallel computing performance by, like, if you recompile the code, maybe twofold. If you kind of do refactoring, up to 100-fold, and that's of course a kind of a big thing from the environment point of view, because compute is getting lots of kind of a more energy intensive as a result of AI. And that is, of course, CO2 emission problem. There's another one that we did half a year ago, a bit over half a year ago, called SISU-Semi, which is a company that can improve the semiconductor surface quality in a way that the semiconductor energy consumption, the leakage currents go down by 30%, but you also increase the yields and such. So
I'm going to use the last minute I have to do a little shout out for our own startup, Outdoor Voyage, which is a travel marketplace and a platform. It's actually two things in one, right? So you can plan your trips, because if you're a climber, you want to use a local outfitter, or you want to do a big expedition in Nepal, you will find yourself a local company that you want to vet, you want to pay them. That's what our platform lets you do, bring in your entire group. And at the same time, it's also a marketplace, so we onboard all the different suppliers, right? So that's Outdoor Voyage. I just wanted to do a little quick shout out.
Sure. Super nice to sort of have a chat, greatly appreciated. And hopefully your audience enjoyed.
Thank you. Thanks, Juho.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Outdoor Journal podcast. Please take a moment to subscribe so you don't miss our weekly episodes. And if you'd like to go on your own adventure to Finland, log on to Outdoor Voyage right now. You'll find our 10-day trip package that includes a ride on the overnight train to Finnish Lapland. I've done this trip myself a few years ago with my daughter, and it was magical. Once again, thanks for watching the Outdoor Journal podcast.